Hello, the purpose of this video is to introduce you to the new food risk assessment tool. To assist members, NCASS has created an online tool that will produce a generic food safety risk assessment based on the principles of hazard analysis critical control points, otherwise known as HACCP. For each food process step, it outlines the key food safety hazards that apply. It then establishes the relevant general controls, monitoring procedures, and corrective actions which should be implemented to minimise the risk of the hazards and to produce safe food. This content is pre-populated into the risk assessment table for each process step for you to review and edit before approving and creating your final document. If you have never done a food risk assessment before, there's no need to worry. This tool is specifically designed to assist you with the process and to help you identify the food processes and, importantly, the controls you need to take into account as part of an effective hazard analysis. Whilst the process aims to be simple and user-friendly, it is crucial that you don't rush through it and that you carefully select all of the food processes that are applicable to the business, and you check the controls and procedures which will be detailed in the final document so they are relevant and can be implemented in real life in your business. Right, so let's get started and I'll take you through how to use the food risk assessment tool. The first thing we do is we log in at www.ncas.org.uk and with your membership number and password, you log in, and this is going to take you into the member dashboard home screen, which looks like this here. Now, click the risk assessments button here and it will take you into your My Units and Premises page. Now, I'm going to assume you've already created or set up your unit or premises. If you haven't, then it will only take a minute to do. You select the plus button, add new premise unit, and there's just a few lines of information about your business to complete, and then it will be created. You can see here I've created a few units that are linked to my membership, and I'm going to use this one over here, Fiona's Food Truck, and I'm going to select Documents. And this is going to take me through to the risk assessment tools. And there are three here, as you can see, for food safety, fire safety, and health and safety. But today we're going to focus on the food safety one. So we're going to press the button for Create Risk Assessment. And it's going to just confirm that we want to use our risk assessment credit. So we're going to proceed with yes. It just takes a moment to load. And we're in. So we're into the risk assessment tool, and this is what you'll initially be presented with. And if I just close up the tabs to give you a quick overview, you'll see that each of these rows represents a tab of information, the top one being the instructions, and then we've got all our food processes listed here. So it takes you through all of the relevant food processes from collection and delivery of ingredients right through to service at the bottom. And I'll come back to that in a moment. The first thing to focus on is the instructions. So we open up the little tab and there's a lot of really useful information in here. So everything you need to know about this tool is outlined in the instructions right here. It talks about the types of terminology that are going to be relevant, and then the step-by-step instructions are included. So if you get stuck along the way, if you want to check anything, then you can refer back to the instructions tab at the top at any time. Now, I know nobody likes to read instructions, but this really will save you time and hassle and inaccuracies later on and make the whole process so much smoother if you just spend 5-10 minutes reading through the information here and making sure that you're familiar with the next steps ahead. And then the next tab beyond that is also very important. This is the disclaimer. So it takes you through the rules and exceptions to using this tool. Now, the risk assessment tool is designed to identify the important controls that apply to the majority of commonly used foods and will be relevant to most food businesses. But there are certain foods that require a specialist food risk assessment outlining more complicated controls are required. So if you undertake any of these specialist food processes that are listed here, for example, vacuum packing or sous vide or smoked or cured foods, then the template won't be fully applicable to you and you will need to create a specific risk assessment. And we've included within the tool a digital template for you to add your own specific information in. And again, within the instructions, there are more details on how to do that. Check you've answered these questions correctly by filling in the little ticks, which I'm going to do here. So read through these questions, make sure you've understood and answered them, and see it's immediately accepted our disclaimer and opened up the first food process, which inevitably starts with the collection and delivery from suppliers of food. At the beginning of each of these little tabs, there's a little description that's worth checking to make sure that that food process applies to your business. The next thing you want to do is check the food state that this is relevant to. So ask yourself, do you receive frozen, ambient and chilled foods? Select as appropriate. And you can see that our template information, our pre-populated tables are already starting to fill with the relevant information we have for frozen, chilled and ambient foods. It's set out covering the 3 main hazard types, as here, and you'll see that the information outlined with the headings controls, monitoring procedures and corrective actions in these columns. Now we would ask you to review and check this information. Most of it is going to be applicable to nearly all businesses. There may just be a few little changes that you need to make here and there to make sure that your risk assessment is specific to your business, and that is really important. That is what is assessed and checked at your routine food safety inspections. That is what contributes to your food hygiene rating score, is making sure that what is written down here is reflected in real life. So there's no point having controls or information that you're not going to be able to apply in real life that are not applicable. So what we'd ask you to do, as I say, is just check through that you're happy with this information. If you are, then simply approve the hazard. It will just quickly ask you to confirm you are happy, confirm, and then move on down to the next hazard. Here we have microbiological multiplication, and it will set out the information again. And if you are happy with everything here, then you can approve the hazard. And I'll just take you through this first one as though everything is perfect. And the last hazard being allergen presence and cross-contamination. So we have all those wonderful key controls and monitoring procedures that are relevant to providing to implementing a good allergen management system within your business, and you would approve the hazard. And that is the first process for collection and delivery of ingredients done. So the system is now asking us to move to the next food process, which inevitably is storage. And again, we have a little introduction here, and so we can check it is applicable. And we then can check the food, add the food states. So if we receive all 3 frozen, chilled, ambient, then we select those as applicable, or we can take out chilled if it is not, etc. And all that does is just make sure that the template information is pre-populated as we want it. I'll just take you through this one again. So again, we would just read through. For the purposes of this video, I'll just move things on a little bit quicker, but we would approve the hazard, confirm. If there is at some point we come across some information that we would like to change, then we select the Edit Hazard button. And it's going to provide us a little bit of text here to read, just to explain that if we are editing any of the pre-populated information that has been checked and assured by our primary authority partners, then it is the information that is added or changed is the responsibility of the business. Now, that is not something to be put off by. We would encourage you to edit just to make sure that what you're editing and changing is again accurate and reflective of what happens in the business. So I'm happy to change this. I'm going to select continue, and then you'll see these little icons appear. We have a blue pen and a little bin symbol. So wherever we want to change the information, so say if I want to change one of the corrective actions over here, I would select the nearest pen symbol, and it would open up the text here, and I could either overlay and delete some information if I wanted to, or I could simply use enter and I could add in a bit more information. Just for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to make some things up and add in some information, but I'm sure you'll put something more sensible in here. And then I'm going to click the update button, and you'll see it's saved in here, my gobbledygook for later on. I could add in a whole new monitoring procedure if I wanted to. So I could select this button here, and whatever I put into here, into this screen, As you'll see, there's a little menu above here, so we can format the text, we can bold it, underline it, we can bullet point it. So it is quite intuitive. And again, I'm just going to write some nonsensical text into here just for the quick purposes of this video to show you an example. And I could determine what food state this would apply to. So I'm going to say, just to add some things in here, frozen and ambient, update. And it's going to add in a new control for me. Okay, and it's added it in here, a new monitoring procedure, as I've added it into that row. And now I'm happy with that, and I'm going to approve that hazard. Again, it's going to ask me to check, are you happy? Confirm. Yep, that's correct, that's fine. I'm going to approve this hazard. I've worked through the 3 hazards again, and it's going to move me on to the next process step, which is defrosting. Now, in my business, I don't do any defrosting. I don't thaw any raw meat or any foods of any kind. So I'm going to use this button here, and I'll just show you that again. Tick this box if this process does not apply to your business. And it just means that I don't have to go through any process steps that are not relevant. So if defrosting or transporting of foods, for example, are not applicable to you, then you can just deselect those and it will move you on to the next process step. And that moves us on to preparation. And just so I can get to the end and show you very quickly what happens with the document, for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to deselect all the next processes, but I'm sure many more of these will apply to you, in which case you'll go through them each individually and just check them off, approve or editing as applicable. So just so I can speed up and get you to the very end. So we've gone through all the processes here. We've selected those that are applicable and we've approved them, and we've deselected those that are not. And now we're going to sign off on our document. I'm going to open up the signature pad, and this allows me here to add my signature. Select user signature, add in my name. Now this would normally be done by the responsible person within the business. And they would sign it off and create document. So once the completed food risk assessment is ready to download, the screen will change. It will take you automatically back to the My Units Premises document screen. To view the document for the first time, you will need to download it as a PDF, which will only take a few seconds. You can either select it from here, Open Risk Assessment, or if you scroll down to the bottom of the risk assessment page, you'll see any completed risk assessments are going to be stored here going forward and accessed via this downward arrow icon. If we click here, Open Risk Assessment, just give it a second, and our download will open up here. And here is our completed PDF document. So at the start of the created document, you will see a flowchart outlining the order of the processes that you selected. And this is then followed by the assessment tables for each process. So there is all our lovely content with our subheadings for each food process in a long continuous document, all nice and easy to review and read, much more condensed with less duplication overall, a shorter document, a shorter, more concise document than the previous food risk assessment tool. And here we have all the information. That is our finished document here. So if you are able to complete this risk assessment within 5 days of joining or renewing NCASS membership, then we will print this for you and add it into the safety management system pack, which we'll send across to you. So you'll have that ready for you, and that's a job done. If you are using the digital safety management system, then the document can be automatically viewed there. Any documents that are created within the member dashboard can be accessed and viewed within the digital safety management system. So as a final part of this video, I wanted to very quickly show you how to review and edit, make any future changes to your risk assessment. Now, the risk assessment must be reviewed and updated whenever there are changes to the food practices and processes within your business. If there are no changes, then it should still be reviewed at least once a year in line with the membership renewal. If, however, at any stage of running your business, the food processes carried out change, for example, you need to add in or take out a process, then you can review and edit the overall risk assessment to reflect these changes. For example, if you later decide to start defrosting foods or hot holding foods, then you must log back into the tool here and make the changes as applicable, as failure to do so could invalidate your overall document, impacting your food hygiene rating score, impacting the effectiveness of your inspection. So to edit, to make any changes, you would just click here and it's going to open us up and it's going to take us back into the tool again. If we just scroll down past the instructions, because we will need to just sign the disclaimer again. And that's just there for anyone who has not been into the tool for some time, just to remind them of the rules and exemptions. And for the purpose of this review, I'm going to show you how to add back in a process. So I've decided I now want to implement defrosting within my business, and I know that it wasn't previously included within my risk assessment. So I'm now going to add it back in by taking the tick out the box, which is going to add me in my template information. I'm going to approve the hazard, which I've already done ahead of this video to speed things up. Okay, hazard approved, and then I'm done. And this is now popped the risk assessment template into my overall document for future reference. So that's how I can take it out. If I wanted to take out a process, for example, hot holding, if I wanted to now take this out, simply go back in and take that out of the finished document. Now you also have the option to add a new process and create a bespoke risk assessment for processes unique to your business or for one of the specialist high-risk processes as outlined in the disclaimer, for example, vacuum packing. So if you want to do that, you just simply select here, Add New Process. And it will initially ask you to provide a title. So I'm going to use vacuum packing as my example. And I'm going to add a little description that I've already pre-prepared here into to title my new process, so everybody understands what it is about. I'm going to select Update, and you'll see now my new process is added here. Okay, at the bottom of my overall risk assessment, you'll see my description is added in here. And it'll ask me if I use any food states. Yes, so I can add these in manually. So this applies to chilled foods. State. Okay. I can take out any that are not applicable. So I don't vacuum pack ambient food or frozen food. I vacuum packed chilled food. And then here you can see that there is a template ready for me to add my relevant controls, monitoring procedures, and corrective actions here. So I could simply go in and add information. For the ease of this video, I'm just going to add in some text. Okay, applicable states, chilled, update. And you can go through and you can add relevant to each of the three hazards, the key hazards, here, here, and here, your controls, monitoring procedures, and corrective actions that apply to your specialist process. Same as before, you would then sign and you would create your document. And at the end, it would then it would build it into your overall HACCP table, your risk assessment. It's a handy way of you being able to add in your own specialist process. And that's it. That's everything I need to show you with. If in any doubt, please refer back to the instruction tab right at the very beginning or give us a call at NCASS and we'll help you guide you through it. Thanks for listening to me today. Goodbye.